Alrighty. This is the most fun part of shooting. Just kidding, it's not.
Ken here from Binary Arms with Gunsmith U. In this video, we're going to go over how to build a professional grade precision rifle for under $750. To lay out our goals, we would like an end result of a rifle capable of hunting, target practice, competition, or general marksmanship training.
So I'm going to shoot 4 rounds out of this rifle. This is a Remington 700 straight from the store. I have not lightened the trigger on this at all. All I've done was shot 4 rounds to get an idea of where the gun's sighted in. And we're going to see how it shoots. So my estimate, without a tool, is this is about an 8 to 10 pound trigger pull here. With your first few shots, you want to definitely check to make sure your scope's not going anywhere, because often the screws will loosen up while it's sitting at the factory. I tightened these before I came here, but I've also shot without doing that, and I almost had a scope fly out and hit me in the face. I'm going to do the trigger mod on this Remington 700. It's not really modification, it's very simply adjusting some screws. Not difficult. Anybody can do this with a set of Allen wrenches. The only part that you might have a little issue getting to is the actual trigger screws themselves. Now, I have a knife screwdriver kit that I got from a hardware store. You can use Allen wrenches, but you're going to have to use some kind of solvent on the screws first, because they have a locking agent to keep them from moving around. And it's recommended that once you do what I'm about to do, you put a locking agent, and it can be as simple as Elmer's glue. I use Loctite because that's the right way to do it, but if you don't have Loctite laying around and you can't make a trip to a hardware store, you can just use Elmer's glue. But basically what I'm doing here is I'm just taking off the pieces that hold the rifle to the stock itself, which we will be replacing as well. So this will be the only piece, this plastic piece, that will survive from our stock. I will be reusing that because I don't feel like putting any other kind of stock on there, or any kind of trigger guard. But here, we've undone those 3 screws. Whole rifle comes right apart. So this is our synthetic cheap stock. As you can see, you know, it's touched the rifle up here. I can bend it in my hands. I could maybe break it in half if I really wanted to. It's cheap. Because of that, it's cheap. So we have the blind magazine style here. I have to take this little shroud off here in order to get to the trigger correctly. Which is simply done with a standard screwdriver. And this piece comes right out. Here's your this is your adjustment screw. Right in here, this is what we're going to be tweaking to make this a much lighter pull. Now right now, I don't have a pull gauge, which if you really want to get fancy, that's what you can pick up. So I can't tell you exactly the weight of the trigger, but I believe it's around 8 pounds. So what you want to do is take any pressure off the trigger. So of course make sure it's empty. I did that before I started here, but make sure there's nothing in the firearm. Dry fire it. Then what you want to do is back this screw out, and when I first started touching it, it was very tight. As you can see, there's some of the locking agent. Now there is a spring behind that, so if you pull it all the way out, it's going to get lost. So is that spring, and you'll be very frustrated waiting 2 weeks for a replacement to come. So just don't pull that all the way out. Now the trick is get it tight enough to be a light pull, but you want it strong enough that if you beat it, it's not going to just go off. So that's very light. So I'm like beating it here. I'm beating the rifle. It's not having the trigger go off, so I might be able to loosen it up even a little more. See, now that didn't even engage the trigger mechanism, so that's obviously too light. And even if it had, you know, it probably wouldn't be very safe. So you want to tighten it a few turns. Alright, so now that's very light. Now I want to beat the heck out of it to make sure. Like, alright, so I just closed it and it fired. So if this had a bullet in it, as I did that, it would have potentially gone off. So I need to tighten it a little bit more, because if you're hunting and you have this firearm with the safety off and a bullet in here, you don't want this going off once you bump up against a tree. Now, if you're moving, you should have the safety on, but not everybody follows the rules. Alright, looks like we're good. You know, I just smacked it around a good bit. You know, I operated the bolt quite heavily, and it is not jumping around, so I'm going to put it back in the stock, and we'll see how that changes our accuracy. Alright, so after the trigger mod, we actually don't see much of a difference, other than just a nicer trigger pull here. The group is a little bit tighter, but not by much, not by any measurable amount. Most of that change will come when we get a new stock, though it is a much nicer feeling when you're shooting it. With the stock, without the adjustment, you would have seen a significant difference versus with the adjustment. But I mean, if you look, you know, these are grouped a little nicer. It's not inches, but you know, maybe it's a small percentage. But 5 or 10% at 500 yards is the difference between hitting and missing. So, easy mod takes less than 20 minutes and can make a slight difference on your shooting.